Ralph, I've got to ask you, going into this game, ASU, absolutely massive underdogs. Do you feel like there's a chance that they could pull away with a win?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you've watched any Pac-12 basketball this year, you realize Arizona's the class of the Pac-12. However, um, it, if Utah can take them to double overtime, if Washington State can tag them, uh, it's possible. We don't know really who this Arizona State team is on a consistent basis yet because they have yet to be consistent. They had a stage where they were in the lead in the Pac-12, and then they had a stage where they lost 7 of 8, and now they're on a 2-game winning streak. All of a sudden, Jemiah Neal is providing a spark off the bench. It's possible. Arizona is undefeated at McHale, and ASU doesn't have a lot of luck in Tucson. But I think that it's one of those things. The Doctor Strange, like there is one opportunity in which we win, and hopefully everything falls in line. And there were some nice results last night that actually give Arizona State the opportunity on Saturday to jump, I think, as high as 5th in the Pac-12 and maybe just be a couple of games out from even being second or third, which is all going to help in positioning for the eventual Pac-12 tournament, which is probably Arizona State's best chance to do some postseason play.
Yeah, I mean, barring, I would say, an absolutely incredible run to end the regular season, I would say that's their only chance looking at March Madness success. But you're right, we don't know what this ASU team is in like the best way and in the worst way. That leads to a lot of games that you're left scratching your head saying, what the hell are you doing? Why are you starting off down 18 points and then outscoring the team for the rest of the game? That doesn't make any sense. But that does lead to, hey, rivalry game. A lot of people don't believe in you. And it feels like that is when ASU athletics in general, when their back is against the wall and nobody believes in them, that's when they can prosper. And then it's kind of the opposite. When you have the expectations and everybody's expecting you to win, then you kind of look at like, oh, when is this going to go wrong? But I got a couple keys and I want to hear yours as well. I think number one, since it is a rivalry game, it is on the road in McHale, which is, like you said, a very tough place to play, especially this season with U of A having so much success there. Number one is to create chaos. And if there's one thing that this team can do, spearheaded by Frankie Collins, it is to create chaos, especially on that defensive end. You got to get up there. You got to pressure. You have to win the turnover battles because when they do, and when they get out on the fast break, to me, that's when this team's playing their best. They've got the momentum going, and I really want to see. I mean, you always want to see Frankie Collins set the tone, but especially on that defensive end, if they can jump out early, force those turnovers, maybe make U of A sweat a little bit, that momentum-wise could set the tone for the game. So shout out Torey Lovello, man. I need this team to create chaos in order to really, really, really have a chance to win tomorrow.
Yeah, and so last night, hosted a Spaces, and Kyle Dodd was in there, and he pointed out something that's really important to that being your X factor, and that is that if you buckle down and you play great defense for 135-second possession, you want that great defense to be rewarded. You don't want to give up an offensive rebound and put yourself back in the same situation that keeps you from getting out in transition and just further, wastes your energy. And so my biggest concern is Ballo has had 7 of his last 9 games at least 13 rebounds. And he's on a streak of 4 in a row with at least 13 rebounds. So where I see Arizona State's key to success is when they get a stop, they got to get a rebound. They have to. And so Sean Phillips Jr., Gaffney's going to have to play a little bit closer to the basket than maybe he's been used to. I know they used him at the 4 against Oregon State. They have to crash the boards because I think that they're going to be rewarded. Arizona has some great shooters. I think they have like 5 guys shooting 34% or above from 3. And so if you are able to force a missed shot and you want to get out and run, the worst thing that can happen to you is Ballo's down low. He grabs a rebound, kicks it back out, and then you have 70 straight seconds of
Right.
defense. So that to me is thing one, and then which I feel like is a controllable. Your effort on the
Yeah, absolutely.
maybe you don't hold him under 13 rebounds, but maybe you keep it from being 3-4 offensive rebounds and making sure that 10% of an entire half isn't you spent on your heels. The other is shots have to fall. And what I noticed against Utah and Oregon State in these last 2 wins is sometimes when they're out on the run, they're stopping and shooting threes. And if those shots don't go in, then it feels like a wasted possession. But shots have been falling. You just have to hope that continues. And I mean, that from the corner, from the baseline, from 28 feet out, they've had more shots falling in the last couple of games than they definitely did during that 8-game streak in which they lost 7. So you hope that shots fall. That's not necessarily a controllable because they're going to shoot the way they shoot. They're going to play the way they play.
Right.
But you have to keep the second chance points to a minimum.
Yeah, and kind of playing into that, the play that sticks out to me when you're talking about they're running and they're taking jump shots was Jemiah Neal on the fast break, like pull up, contested, transition 3, and he hit it. And
Yeah.
to give credit to Jemiah Neal, he has been feeling himself as of late. He is probably my X factor for this game because you do need somebody to go out there and to get you hard, tough buckets. And back to your first point, kind of merging it with mine with winning the turnover battle and then also those rebounds. The last thing that you can do when, let's just say it how it is, talent wise, like U of A is the number 5 team in the country, right? Like on paper, this team is supposed to win this game. That's just the way that it's supposed to go. And if you are a team in the opposite position where ASU is, you cannot give them more chances. Every single offensive rebound, every single turnover that you lose, that's giving them another chance to not only either build a lead up to, let's say it balloons to a 10-point, 12, 15-point lead, or if you have a lead and they can draw it closer on the road, that's going to be a really hard thing to overcome. With the rebounding specifically, Sean Phillips Jr., I was almost a cathartic experience in the other game where he had the ball and he went inside and he just dunked that. And it feels like we were waiting all season for him to really establish himself on the inside. I need him to show up and I need him to go absolutely hard in the paint. It's almost all about tone setting to me at this point, because if you are going to pull off a win where you're not favored, you can't just ease your way into it, right? You can't just hope for the best, let the other team play their game, you play your game, and let's see what happens. No, you got to make people uncomfortable. You've got to force them inside, and you've got to maybe make them sweat a little bit. Bang around with Ballo down low. Don't make them feel comfortable trying to grab boards defensive or offensively. And Phillips is really the only guy that you have on the roster that has the build to do that. Like, you could want Alonzo Gaffney to go more into the paint. You can want Alonzo Gaffney to hang out more around the rim. But what we've seen is he's more of a perimeter-oriented guy. He doesn't really have that makeup of let's bang down low, let's get dirty with it, and let's grab these tough boards, let's force these extra possessions. And that's just something that ASU is really going to need in order to just get going in this game, just to keep it close.